I think as a business person evolves, it's about making the right decisions, less transactions, more profit and revenue, right? Freeing up time
Mm-hmm.
for family, getting to spend time with the wife, date nights, getting to spend time with the little niños and being present at soccer
Yep.
and golf and tennis and all this stuff. And so, it's less about that, like, I'm gonna go out and tackle the world thing, right? The
Mm-hmm.
product of that is that when you do start moving a little slower, the deals start getting bigger and capital has an opportunity at least to thrive and flourish. So like my plate will be full sometimes, bro.
You're listening to the We Love Equity Real Estate Show, a podcast that discusses the intricacies of real estate investing with your host, Marcus E. Maloney. Marcus is a real estate investor best known for being the equity king. He's been awarded that moniker because he and his team find amazing real estate deals. He will be talking with investors who have done some transformational things in the real estate industry. They'll discuss their process, their strategies, and how their investments transform their lives and the communities they invest in. We welcome you to the We Love Equity Real Estate Show.
The We Love Equity Show is brought to you by ASREA, widely recognized as an outstanding resource for real estate investors with exceptional education, networking, and support, along with profit-enhancing benefits in all aspects of real estate investing. Visit ASREA at www.asrea.org. That's visit ASREA at www.azreia.org. Hello, welcome to another episode of the We Love Equity Real Estate Show. I am your host, Marcus Maloney, and I am excited to be with you all on today. Every time we get a chance to communicate and talk and get together, it's always great for me because I enjoy the energy that I get, not only from the guests, but just from you guys when you give me comments, give me responses, and also give me comments. So thank you so much for being loyal listeners. So on today, we're going to be talking about development projects. We're going to be talking about wholesaling. We're going to be talking about fixing and flipping. But what I want to do is I want to introduce you to Casey Ames, who hails from Boise, Idaho. He is a very, very seasoned investor. And we're going to talk about some of the things that he's doing, what he did to get started, what he's doing now, what he's seeing in the future. So Casey, man, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. I'm jealous that you're in sunny Phoenix right now. And yeah, it'll be sunny here. And then the next hour it'll be snowing, and then it'll be sunny. So we're just waiting for some of your warm weather to come our way.
Don't worry, it's coming real soon. Trust me. And believe me, when you guys get the warm weather, we're mad because then we're at 120 degrees.
I know.
So right. Uh, so tell me, Casey, introduce yourself, man, to our listeners. I know I did a brief introduction, but kind of give us your background. What did you do prior to real estate?
I was just serving. I was serving fine dining. That's basically what I was doing. And let me see if I can delete this thing here. I was serving fine dining, and my parents were actually in the Phoenix market. And
Okay.
my mom had started. She was one of Brent's students. My mom and dad, I should say, were one of Brent Daniel's students,
Okay.
and they started wholesaling, and then she kind of was like, "Hey, I think you'd be really good at this." And so you'll hear this on a lot of podcasts. I kind of start out this way because it's the intro, but it was one of those things where she was so close up with Brent in the beginning before he had really exploded TTP that there was still competition, but there
Mhm.
wasn't like an overwhelming amount of wholesalers that were actively,
Mhm.
working with good systems and processes and everything Brent teaches and was teaching. And so, that went on for 3 or 4 months. They had some really good months. And then Brent really started to scale that TTP. And next thing you know, there's a
Okay.
couple thousand wholesalers in the market. I had been calling in from
Yep.
Boise, to Phoenix. So I was doing it virtual, and it started to just get stiff. It started to get a little harder, and no one was
Hmm.
doing it here in Boise. I mean, you had your mom and pop shops that would do maybe one or two a month or whatever, but for the most part, no one was really pressing on it. And the way my brain works is scale. Even back then, I think
Hmm.
dream big. My faith is big. Like and then you got to go out and execute, right? And so I had a conversation with my mom and my dad, Chris and Cindy Fagan, and I was really just like, "Hey, I think there's an opportunity to come to Boise. Why don't we?" And initially, it started out that, why don't I do work here in Boise? You do your work in Phoenix, and we'll just throw it all on the table and split everything up. That's originally how it started. So we would have two markets, and then um, my company here overtook that market pretty quickly, and we really started picking up some steam.
Okay.
And so then I eventually, my parents decided, and we all decided as a team that they would move out here to Boise, and we would just focus on Gem State Cash Offer, which is our wholesale company here. Um, and it's been great. It's been the wholesale
Okay.
piece has been. We don't press on the wholesale as much as well. I should say we're starting to press on it again, but we haven't been. We'll get into it, I'm
Okay.
sure. I essentially opened up a flip stream, and then I opened up a build stream, and then I opened up a spec stream, and then we opened up our luxury stream, and then also multifamily
Okay.
also. So while that was all going on, the wholesale thing just kind of stayed consistent, 50 to 70 deals a year. So we went down from 100, but 50 to 70, and it was at a nice scalable model where we had all of our systems were processes and automated, and we could really focus on construction. So that's kind of how I started. That's the nuts and bolts. Just, I'm a
Okay.
big God guy, and I was just reading and praying and
Thumbs up.
yeah, reading and praying and communicating with him, and we got our first big wholesale here. Really, my first big wholesale that I had done. I think at that time it was like 20K, and I had been working two jobs serving tables, and I was just like, I knew it was the moment to go. So I cut my
Okay.
knife off and went all in at that point in time.
Hmm. Sounds good, man. And I can definitely relate with you on that because I believe in my faith, and that's one of the things that I had to do to get started because that's one of the challenging aspects of getting started in any new industry, is having that faith and having that belief to where, hey, what I'm currently doing, I know that there's something bigger. I know there's something greater out there for me. You can see it, you can visualize it, you can taste it, it's in your spirit, but you're like, okay, how do I do that? And it takes that prayer and that meditation time, and being with God early in the morning to really find out what direction you need to go into and what avenue to go into. So, yeah, man, I definitely understand that. Definitely understand that.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I'm a huge advocate of the early morning rise. I when I in full honestly, I don't do it consistently the way that I used to, but if I ever get behind or I feel like I got a project that I want to put some muscle into or something, yeah, I'm up at 5 every morning. But for years,
Hmm.
I when I was starting that company, I mean, we would wake up at 5 in the morning and I would work and read and have that alone time, and I would get more stuff done than most people get done. I was by 8 a.m. I was like, what do I do with my hands? You know what I mean? I gotta
Yep.
on
Yep.
something else. I gotta go find something else to do. And I was really I was driven and whatnot. Um, so I'm a huge one of my close friends, I seek counsel with him. He says read 8 pages a day, a minimum of 8 pages.
Hmm.
Read 8 pages a day, and if you're not reading 8 pages a day, then you're not taking it seriously. And so I'm a huge, we dig in constantly, and so, um, but yeah, man, that's kind of the gist of it. That's all.
Likewise, man.
That was the start of it, anyway.
Yeah, yeah. Likewise, I'm a 5 o'clock in the morning riser, get up, do my prayer, my meditation, my reading. And like you said, come 10 o'clock, it's like, all right, what am I doing for the rest of the day? And then sometimes you end up throwing stuff on your plate that you really don't need to throw on your plate because it's like I got this free time. what else am I gonna do? But yeah, man. So guys, you guys listening, start your day early. Start your day, with some meditation, with some alone time. That way you can get some clarity and get some clear instructions, because sometimes what happens is we start our day and we're listening to the news, we're listening to sports, we're listening, to our parents calling or somebody calling, and we start getting all of that junk dropped up on us. But when you had that alone time, from 5 to 7 o'clock or whatever, you really get dialed in and you get clarity on what you're doing. So let me ask you this, Casey. So going through that process, man, because I know you didn't get that $20,000 deal immediately. What was some of what were some of the things, outside of the praying and the fasting and that alone time? What were some of the things that you were doing to try and push your way through that way you can stop, working in the restaurant and everything like that?
Well, there's a couple pieces to that puzzle. One is I'm competitive by nature, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that I am gonna compete against you. I'm competing with myself, but if there is a mark to be hit, I want to leap that mark. I feel like I feel like it's possible. And you said it earlier, it's like it's just a matter of how is it possible? And then I think as you evolve and you get a little, I think it as one evolves and gets a little more sophisticated with their business, then obviously that opens a couple other doors with being able to really reverse engineer and make sure stuff is the right fit. Is the money look the same? Am I paying attention to gross and net and all these things that come over time with being a businessman or woman? But in the beginning, it started with analysis paralysis, right? The script comes down.
Hmm.
All of a sudden, there's another person on the other line. You haven't
Yeah.
really practiced it. You don't have your reps in. So you're kind of flying by the seat of your pants a little bit. One thing though that was taught to me was motivation. That it had little to do with the price and just focus on the motivation. And I think one of the things I was really digging into, tithing and trusting and faith and all that stuff at the time. And really I didn't say it on here, but I mean, we went through some hard stuff in my family and it forced me to be very humble and grateful. And it wasn't all about the money for me. I was more interested in the process and if it really worked. And even though I wasn't rich then, I had went from being so broke that I wasn't really, like, struggling, right? Like, I mean, I don't know what a server makes. I was making maybe, like, 50K a year. I was working really hard for my money, and I knew there was something better to your point, but I wasn't like, "How am I gonna keep the lights on?" If that makes
Right,
sense.
right.
And so, like,
Hmm.
with these calls, like, when I used to train my acquisition managers and stuff, it's like, I'm like, "Don't pay attention to the money will come when you're not paying attention to it. Just do the right thing and do the motivation and focus on, timeline and how you can really help these people." And you hear it and it starts to sound
Yeah.
generic, actually really true. And so, for me, I naturally jumped into the motivation pillar. And so what that
Okay.
opened is it opened up really good conversations with these sellers. Well, with good conversations came confidence. With the confidence came reps because I was getting in front of these people more, right?
Hmm.
If you're struggling on the phone, you really just gotta focus on the motivation and who you're talking to. One of the great books of all time is Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. And he breaks down the personality types, right? And so I started making it a game who I was talking to. Am I talking to an assertive
Hmm.
person? Who am I talking to? Is it more for them about being just the right decision and they're less concerned about the capital, or is it more they want to get
Yeah.
capital and I got to figure out a way that to fit the box in? So anyway, that those were some of those are the main things, and then just focus and drive. And,
Hmm.
I'll be honest, like, we were just talking my mentor and myself were just talking the other day, and I was telling him, like, I'm like, "Man, at, like, 40 years old, I just am, like, finding it hard to get that 25-year-old drive going," you know? Like,
Yeah.
we've
Yeah.
we've made some money. It's now about, I think as a business person evolves, it's about making the right decisions, less transactions, more profit and revenue, right? Freeing up time
Hmm.
with family, getting to spend time with the wife, date nights, getting to spend time with the little niños, and being present at
Yep.
soccer and golf and tennis and all this stuff. And so it's less about that, like, I'm gonna go out and tackle the world thing, right? The
Hmm.
byproduct of that is that when you do start moving a little slower, the deals start getting bigger and capital has an opportunity at least to thrive and flourish. So, like, my plate will be full sometimes, bro. Like, I'll wake up, I have
Hmm.
assistants. We have a great team here at Taylor Jean Homes, and we have everyone's doing their part and stuff. But one of the kind of going back and forth is bouncing around. One of the beauties at that 5 a.m. wake up is no one's bugging me. I can hammer out like 50 emails, right? Because my
Yep.
my my assistant's like chasing me around with, like, it's that classic movie where like the papers are like flying in the background is the assistant, like,
Hmm.
is the guy, right? So that's how it is here. I'm a visionary by heart, and I'm just constantly doing things and moving things and multitasking. And so it's hard to buckle me down. And one of the things that I noticed over a long tenure in the career is that I get behind on emails. I get behind on emails,
Yep.
and I have a great team, but some of them are me specific, like, if there's delegation to be had, like when this podcast was set up, for example, I didn't even know that the
Yep.
podcast was being set up. Nate handled it all. And then I went on and
Hmm.
he had attached the bios and all that stuff. So I've removed myself from all those things. But when we're talking about like a 119 unit apartment complex or a 122-acre subdivision, or like this house that's in the background is one of our big luxuries that we just built. Some of those things are specific to me, right? And
Yep.
so I have to answer these questions that someone might not have the knowledge on. And it could be as simple as like, well, what was the product that you use on the floor? Oh, those are herringbone white oak panels. You know what I mean? And they might need that information
Hmm.
more because they're short or whatever. And so
Right. Right.
that 5 a.m. wake up is crucial because you have no one bothering you. You send out all those emails, you're caught up, you don't feel like you have, like, stuff dragging you down, and then your email's in their inbox first thing in the morning, and so you get an answer quick, and then the assistants
Hmm.
take it, right? So, kinda bouncing back and forth, but really that was one of the things, is just, like, with the wholesaling piece, it was Chris Voss. It was finding out who I'm talking to. It was evolving as a human being, and remaining humble as God blessed us, and as He laid opportunity on our doorstep, just remaining humble and
Hmm.
being of service in every way that we could. And then we ended up having this wonderful network that, serves us amazing, and I hope we serve them amazing. So it's kind of
Man,
that.
Casey, that was great, man. I mean, you gave us a lot in there, and it's good because I can definitely relate. It's yes, it's about having the systems in place and, having everything in place. And like you said, kind of going back with with the motivation. That's one of the things that I always tell people is just lead with that service perspective. Don't worry about the money. Don't worry about, hey, I need to fit this property within this framework. I got to get 70% ARV, everything like that. Just find out what the problem is. And if you can help them, great. If not, figure out if there's a way that you can help them. If not, refer them on to a realtor or something like that. Not everything needs to work. You don't need to try and make everything work. Sometimes it's, hey, what can I do? How can I help you? If I can't help you here, what? Here's a referral. This person can help you. Because when you
Sure.
start leaving, yeah, you start leading with that service perspective, so many more doors will open up for you. So many more opportunities will open up to you, and I'm sure you understand that because that's how you went from doing, a lot of deals to just doing, bigger deals. And that's what tends to happen is, and wholesalers, listen to me, when you start doing transactions, you start noticing, hey, you know what? It's not about the number of transactions, 100 transactions a year. It's about, what is my time? How much is my time worth? And is my net opportunity and my net time equaling out to doing, less work, higher net revenue versus a lot of transactions and a lot of time being spent.
Yeah, and there's I mean, this conversation, this is the one thing with podcasts is sometimes, you could have a it was why I like Joe Rogan's platform. Sometimes their podcasts are like 3 hours, but you just never know where it's gonna go, right? But
Right. Right.
there's an evolution to wholesaling, and just remember to those that are listening is that everything's on the table to wholesale. You know what I'm saying? Like, people buy weights and wholesale them on Amazon. People,
Mhm.
like, so we started with single family residents, and we did a whole bunch of those last year, but we wholesaled, I think, 4 or 5 apartment buildings and subdivisions to an equivalent that was well over, 7 figures. I mean, it was in 7 figures, but it was a high 7 figures. And we just, we just so, like, one of the things you said is you're like, find out how you can help them. And as you evolve, you will find that if you're really paying attention and you're really thinking about taking time to think about things, solutions will pop up. God's good like that. You got to dig your own holes and then he'll put
Yep.
solutions in front of you. And so, like, for us, we were like, well, why don't we at all the construction was slowing down, especially in the development space, because the entitlements were taking so long because the county wasn't getting funding. And this is nationally, right? Uh, Counties weren't
Mhm.
funding to get enough manpower to run through the files. So a developer comes in. I mean, it typically takes us, a year, 6 months to a year to get a property entitled. Entitled meaning that you have the ability to build the unit count that you want on it, right? It's
Yep.
not all land, now it's this. To You could have, I mean, we just got a 122 acre subdivision, a 33 home luxury subdivision. It took me 3.5 years to get that done. It was right when COVID started. Everything shut down. I got caught holding the bag with it, and I had to work for 3 years to get that thing. So we said, okay, well, there's a gap then. There's a void in it because developers still want to build. The vertical guys still want to build. The hedge funds still
Mhm.
have money to place. People still want rentals. People still want homes to buy. And so how can we fill that void? So we started buying entitled paper and taking it to final plat. So we buy it at preliminary plat where they still had to do all the civil engineering. We still had to do, all the final civil, make sure all the geotech, get the permits ready.
Yep.
So shovel ready, all those things, and then we'd sell it to a developer when it was shovel ready. And you make 400K, 500K a deal. You
Right.
a million a deal. So we did. I sold a entitled 200 unit, and then I sold another entitled 200 unit. We sold it was like a 28 home subdivision, and then we sold a little building. But I mean, the number was big. Like, even somebody that
Yep.
grinds really hard that has a really nice wholesale thing, you'd have to do a lot of single family homes for some big wholesales to meet those. And it really didn't take a crazy amount of
Yep.
time because you have your teams, right? Like, I'm not going out and doing the civil
Yep.
engineering. I don't know what I know it by a byproduct
Right. True.
sometimes, but I'm not the guy to do it. The guy who has the master's degree is the guy. So really what that looks like is a
Mhm.
call to civil engineer and say, hey, I need you to do final civil engineering on this in order for us to get our final plat, right? And then it's done and you sell it to the
Yep.
people. So, um,
True.
less deal, bigger profits, more revenue.
And that's the thing, sometimes I hear people when they talk about, I've been wholesaling for 10 years, I've been wholesaling for 15 years, and they haven't made that evolution. And it's like, okay, well, what's wrong? Because there should be bigger opportunities coming. There should be more ways to diversify, your revenue stream versus just wholesaling everything that you get. And you got to realize, guys, when we get into real estate, it's not just to be transactional, but it's to build wealth. And you build wealth by, holding some things. Like you said, you go from wholesale to now raw land development to apartment complexes and apartment units and stuff like that. So don't ever feel that if you're making that transition from being a successful wholesaler over to something else, that you're doing something wrong. I went through that phase because I was doing a lot of wholesale transactions, and it was just eating up a lot of time and a lot of work. And then I started seeing these bigger opportunities, and it's like, hey, you know what? By the time I try and wholesale 5 or six, working with 5 or 6 sellers and 5 or 6 buyers and title company, I could do this one deal over here and it would cover or even double, the profit that I would make on those 5 wholesale deals. So
Yeah,
not to say again, God, go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, let's unpack that a little bit just because I feel like it's important to say right now, with the current status of our market, with the current craziness that's happening in the world, quick revenue with low debt is, in my opinion, and the people that I seek counsel from, very important right now. So some of these
Mhm.
entitlement projects for, bigger spreads, less volume, so on and so forth, that's nice. But my suggestion would be to make sure your base is good and make sure you have consistent quick revenue coming in. And it doesn't have to be 5 million transactions, but just have that, make
Right.
sure you're good. Make sure that you're good financially to withstand any debt that you're going to take on. The other thing that I would say, and I say to all my students, because we have a couple coaching programs, but one of the biggest things that how I started out is I asked them like, well, what do you want your personal life to look like, and what do you want your business life to look like? And often you'll see those things not align in the first conversation, depending on the
Mhm.
status of the client, right? Like if they're coming in and they know their stuff and they got an operating business and they're doing great and everything, you're obviously going to get a different answer. But for newer students and stuff, they don't understand how to align them. And the biggest thing that I would say about that is, if your motivation is to not make um, a tremendous amount of money, but you just want to spend a lot of time with your family, or you want to have the ability to travel, what I would suggest is just find out what that number is and then do that successfully. Like, I don't care if you make 1
Mhm.
million or 5 million a year. If 1 million gives you the opportunity to fulfill everything that you want in your life, and that's your happy number, right? Then you don't have to be the guy that's going out and doing all these things. Be yourself, be
Yep.
true to who you are, man or woman. And just because some people are ambitious and want to tackle 7, 8 figures consistently doesn't mean that you have to be that person, but everything should be set up for what that end result is, right? And then, as you and I both know, when you're not greedy with stuff, you base hit after base hit after base hit. That's the name of the game, and you will hit home runs every now and then. And some of those home runs can add up to grand slams, and some of those grand slams add up to season championships. You know what I'm saying? So like, it will come if you're just true to yourself and you just kind of do your thing. So I feel like that's important to say, just because we are in a market where revenue is important. I think revenue is extremely important. You can take my word for it with somebody who does a lot of projects, big ones, small ones, in between ones. Revenue is important, and timing that right is important also. So
Absolutely. I mean, that was my word for today. Today is foundation. You got to make sure you have that solid foundation in order to build upon, because if that foundation isn't solid, so if you don't have that monthly recurring revenue coming in, it's going to be hard for you to wait, like you said, Casey, 3 years for a big project to finally get finished. You still got to feed your family, still got to take care of things that you need to take care of. So um, let's take a brief break, hear a word from our sponsors. And then when we come back, Casey, we want to talk about how you transition from doing all of those transactions to working on the bigger deal. So let's have a brief word from our sponsor, and we will be right back.
Finding real estate deals can be a challenge, but with Batch Leads, it doesn't have to be. Batch Leads has created a one-stop solution for all your real estate needs, so you can find more sellers, close more deals, and maximize revenue. Batch Leads offers a comprehensive suite of lead generating tools that cover text messaging, skip tracing, finding comps, and much more. Batch Leads help you simplify, manage, and organize all your data in one place. Batch will help you stack your lists and identify properties that appear on multiple lists and have multiple distress indicators. These sellers are likely to be highly motivated and eager to sell. Get the most powerful and complete lead generation platform in the industry. Locate sellers, buyers, and lenders nationwide in seconds. Go to batchlead.io and use promo code WeLoveEquity. Are you tired of seeing others becoming successful real estate investors and you just don't know where to start? You see all the Instagram posts of others being successful. You see the Facebook ads guaranteeing instant success. You look at tons of YouTube videos, and you even attend seminars just to be tricked into 10, 20, or even $30,000 courses. Well, with the Deal Finders Club, my husband is here to change things for you. Have you said to yourself, I'm deadly afraid to talk to sellers and I have no confidence? I don't know where to find motivated sellers. I don't know where to get a contract from. I don't know how much to offer the seller, let alone where I'm going to get the money from to close the deal. Well, in the Deal Finders Club, Marcus and his partner Mike are going to show you how to overcome all those challenges and more. Find out how by going to azdfc.com. That's azdfc.com. We'll see you inside.
All right, guys, we are back with Casey Ames, who hails out of Boise, Idaho. And before we left, we were talking about, all things. We were talking about wholesale, moving on to big deals, things like that. But what I want to talk to you about, Casey, really is making that transition, man, from doing the transaction, zooming in on wholesaling, because you got to do all of your marketing, have your team set up, everything like that, to then pivot and transition into just focusing on bigger deals. How did that happen? And what did that transition look like? Did you stop some of your marketing, or kind of what did that entail?
No, I think it was trial and error. I think that so we built the wholesale team where we had acquisition managers, VAs, cold callers. We had people handling the
Mhm.
SEO. We had everything set up. And when I went to start flipping houses, what I noticed is that I was lacking in training. I kind of stopped training them the way that I was originally when I wasn't flipping and building and stuff. And so we were just not being as productive, I think, as we could have been. And when you're not productive with wholesaling specifically, you're losing leads, because there's leads that a good
Yep.
acquisition manager could get that, or a good cold caller that a bad one's just not going to get. And the difference is noticeable, right? So I was like, let's
Yep.
step back. So we actually went with just a couple callers. We scaled it back and went with a couple callers, and then we focused really hard on our SEO, our internet presence, and our referral. So like if you look at our pie graph, it's like massive networking, a little bit of cold
Okay.
calling, of this and that. Very similar to if you ever talk to Jason Lewis. The big part of his business pie is networking, and
Networking and
you know,
referrals. Yep.
well, and it evolved organically because the flipping and the building, I was going for something different. So we were doing a luxury look. Well, people like
Hmm.
pretty things. And so the luxury look was actually attracting a lot of people for deal flow, because maybe it was an agent that they wanted to list one of our houses or something like that. And so they would bring us some deal that thought we could tackle, but most people wouldn't. And so, and you just start building referrals and stuff. And it started to outweigh all the cold calling and stuff. Well, when that happened in natural progression, we realized that at that point, Taylor Jean Homes was actually feeding Gem State Cash Offer, where originally Gem State Cash Offer, the wholesaling company, was feeding Taylor Jean
Hmm.
Homes. And now they both work, they're kind of just, they both send stuff back and forth to each other. And so, and what I mean by that is like, and this is a good example for when you're wholesaling like apartment buildings and you're wholesaling subdivision, if you're in that space and you build and you do stuff like that, like there's not much difference from, I say this loosely, and
Hmm.
you, if you don't know how to do it, find somebody who does, and seek their counsel, and they can tell you how to do it. But there's not a lot of difference from going from final plat to building a 40-unit apartment building, because you're not going to go out and swing the hammer. So
Right.
you're setting it up just like anything else. A mentor of mine explains this in an analogy that's really good. And he just says, look, like you were the deli shop. And this is years ago when I was, I just hit the scale button, right? He's like, you were the deli shop that's like
Okay.
next to Albertsons, right? And he's like,
Hmm.
stowed up, and you cleaned the windows, and you made the sandwiches, and you greeted the guests, and you shut the lights off at night, paid the bills, and then you went home, right? Now, and you're really successful at it. You were great at it. Now you have so much business that you're actually in the Albertsons building, and it's a lot bigger, and you have more clients, and you physically can't open the store, do the books, make the sandwiches, and so on and so forth. So you have to learn how to set up a team. If you're interested in
Yep.
scale, you should master the art of delegation and hire the right people. And that's a huge piece. The right people in the right seats. That's another. That's another thing. Like you can hire the
Hmm.
right people, but if you don't have them in the right seats, so like we use predictive index for all of our stuff. If the PI doesn't match,
Yep.
and they don't go in the seat, you know? I could use a great example. We had one of our we had one of our employees, he's been with me forever. He's like my brother. Actually, when I lived in Phoenix, he was my roommate there. And he uh
Okay.
he was good. He was an acquisition manager. We taught him everything we knew. He was good. He's great. Well, now he's my procurement manager for our luxury stuff. So he does all the procurement, nationally, internationally. He goes out, gets us the best deal, finds out what scale we need to be at the best deal. And then I've trained him because I do all the design for all of our luxury stuff. It is the Achilles
Okay.
heel of CEO because you get pulled back in. And so unless it's one like this
Right.
background, but like for specs and stuff, we've showed him how to do that. So he actually does a lot of the design for like our $1 to $2 million houses and really anything under that. And then when it goes up to these, we kind of work together. But so he's our procurement manager. He's a COO of one of my coaching companies. He's an Allen wrench or a Swiss Army knife. You know what I mean? Like he's a beast,
Gotcha. Okay.
but he's in the right seat. He couldn't grow in the acquisition thing because it didn't fill his heart, and now he can scale with the company and he can do all these things, which full circle comes back to your point, like, well, how did this all happen? I just followed my heart and I didn't want to wholesale anymore, but I didn't want to lose the
Hmm.
wholesale business. So I delegated a lot of the tasks and I focused on the flips. And then we went into that and it was like, I don't want to flip these dirty little houses anymore. We need to do
Yep.
something
Yep.
different. And so we were actually in Mexico and I was sitting there and I was like just meditating and looking at the ocean. And we were doing somewhere around 50 to 70 flips a year or something like that with builds mixed in those. And we're making a lot of money and everything was great. And I was like, I'm miserable. And it's like silver platter
Wow.
problems is the way it sounds like somebody on this call that's listening be like, oh, you were in Mexico and you're miserable and all. I get it. Like I get it. I get it. But I just knew
Yeah.
that a better way and it wasn't fulfilling my heart. And so that's when we came up with the idea to do luxury. So we pressed on the luxury
Hmm.
a- as hard as we could. And when it came back, we sharpened the pencil and sharpened the iron. And we really just started putting out a product that we believed was at minimum competitive with the best in that space. Right. And so I just always follow my heart. And that's
Yep.
where my heart was, and so
And
even,
that's
oh, go ahead.
that's very key, Casey. I mean, it's following your heart because you know what you want to do. Not all of the times that you have to do what you don't want to do. You get to that point where you say, "All right, I'm doing this," and you grow. And as you grow out of some things. So yeah, you were doing a lot of wholesale deals, moving a lot of transactions. But at the end of the day, you were like, okay, I'm growing past this. What's next? What can I do to put somebody in this seat to keep them doing the wholesale stuff while I move on and I grow to another level? And predictive index for you guys that don't understand or don't know what predictive index, it's like Briggs and Myers, or what's the other one? Briggs and Myers, and
I don't know.
can't
It's
think
like
of the name.
it's for those of you who know what a disc test is, and the
This, that's what I was thinking.
PI will probably kill me for saying it this way, but it's the most advanced, closest. Like in some states, you can be legally bound by it in like right to work states and stuff,
Yep.
and use it to fire and stuff. The It's very, very, predictive, and one thing with it is that, like so my COO, for example, my COO is wildly smart, way smart, like, we have a joke with him where, like, we'll be like, "Oh, yeah, but I don't know how to do that," and he'll be like, "Oh, you could do that. All you gotta do is, like, build a new carburetor and put," and we're like, "What?" And
Mhm.
the joke is he'll always tell us a story about how he learned how to do that, and his dad used to, like, backpack him all over South America and all this crazy stuff. So he's just got like all these wild experiences that have given him abundance of knowledge, right? So I told him before, have you met Zeb?
No,
Have
I
you
haven't.
have you met him at any of the
Nope.
thing? So I told him before he took the PI, and it was before I fully understood the PI, but I was like, "Hey, dude, can you just not try to trick this thing? Just like answer the question,
Right.
right?" And then I was talking to Gary Harper, and I was like, "Yeah, I had to tell Zeb because they know each other." I was like, "I had to tell Zeb like, don't try to trick it." And he's like, "Actually, it works. It amplifies it if you try to trick it, and
You
so
try and trick it.
you'll
Yep.
show higher strengths in what you shouldn't." And so anyway, so that's the thing. And so with that, it goes back to hiring the right people, following your heart, hiring the right people in
Yep.
the right seats. And when you are building new businesses and when you are tackling new projects, and that doesn't have to be with business. For example, like we love to go help Christ in, so when we go to Mexico, we go to this little school and we help them. And, we love being involved in that stewardship of the things that God's given
Excellent.
in serving the way that we can. And a lot of that stuff takes
Hmm.
time, right? So if you're trying to focus on that, but you want to keep your wholesale business going, just whenever you move on to the next thing, my suggestion or advice is one should thoroughly make sure that business is automated and could run without you, you know, and you could be an
Yep.
active
Yep.
CEO, but you should be hiring a new CEO and be an active owner's box, right? The easiest way to say it is your business ready to sell? Could you sell your business?
True.
If you can't sell your business, then they need you too much probably, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You need to be in that seat then. Man,
Yeah.
this is great stuff, Casey. I could talk to you for hours and hours and hours, man, because there's so much alignment here. Yeah. So guys, if you haven't done PI, try it out. Like Casey said, it's like this test on steroids. You learn so much about the people that you're affiliated with and who's on your team. So Casey, kind of wrapping up here, man. How can people how can people follow you? Where can we reach out to you, to get more information about what you and your team are doing?
Yeah, so, there's a couple ways. I think Nate probably put some of the handles and stuff on there, but you can reach me at
Yeah.
Taylor Jean. The Instagram's at Taylor Jean Homes. So it's TaylorJene Homes, and that's that handle. You can Facebook message me. Um, Nate watches all that stuff. You can email me at casey@taylorjeanhomes.com. And then, uh, for like students and stuff like that, what I would say is just reach out through that Instagram Messenger deal, and we can
Okay.
start communicating there, and then we can go take it from there or whatever. But
All
yeah,
right. Perfect.
thanks.
Perfect.
Thank you for having me, first of all. And I hope that there was some value served. And if there's anything else I can do to
Absolutely.
help anyone on here, just let me know.
Absolutely. Okay, so before we sign off, Casey, give us some words of encouragement for those people that are either just getting started or they're in that transition phase, or you know what, they're in that phase where they like, okay, I feel it in my heart. I know it's in my spirit. I need to trust God and step out and move in this direction. So can you give us some words of encouragement in that area?
Yeah. Um, you know, slow down. Slow down. The fastest way to a place is slowly. And that's really important because you don't want to invest too much time and energy into something and get too far down the line. I'll use an analogy. I'll keep this quick, but I use an analogy of business. So like
Mhm.
when we're teaching people how to set up businesses and stuff like that, you don't want to get too far into your business and have to then come back and get people in the right seats, if that makes sense, right? If you're just hiring one
Yep.
person at a time, make sure you have the right fit, then have them help you. So slow down. Um, Really look at what you want. Don't compare yourself to people. Also, social media, as much as it can work to our advantage in business, not everybody on social media is what they are on social media. I think that's
Yeah.
important
Sure.
because we look at these guys, men and women, and we're like, how are they doing all this? And man, they're filthy rich and they're on their yachts and they're doing all this stuff and they're broke. they're broke. And
Right.
so don't just and seek counsel. So for those of you who are faith oriented, I live by the principles that are in the Bible, and one of them is seek counsel of many men and women. So like I
That's
seek.
true.
So if I have an idea, I run it up the flagpole. I talk to people about it. I ask for help when I need help and stuff like that. And so don't think that you got to do everything on your own. Constantly expand your network. And yeah, just be true to yourself and, love people and treat them fair. Don't let the money get to your head.
There you go. So, guys, you heard it from Casey right there. Seek wise counsel, and build your business slowly. Take time, to understand what you're getting into. So, Casey, I want to thank you. I want to appreciate it. If there's anything that I can do, to assist you, your family, and your business, please reach out to me and let me know. For you all that's on here listening, make sure you reach out to Casey. Let him know how he inspired you, his kind words. And you all always know what to do. Get out there and enjoy the journey. All right, guys, that was Casey Ames from Boise, Idaho. Man, it was really, really a really great conversation to hear how he went from starting absolutely with nothing and then moving it on to luxury builds and commercial builds and apartment complexes and building from raw land, so it don't take a lot of time. You just need to get in, be focused. Have one of the key things he said was mentorship. He talked about, you know, talking with his mentor in the morning and meeting with his mentor and making sure that he's headed in the right direction. So if you're looking for someone, to help you with those building blocks to get you started, reach out to me. You can go to azdfc.com, get on our waiting list, I'm sorry, and reach out to us. Me and my partner, Mike Delpreet, we've done, hundreds of deals, over 12 years experience in doing this. So we can help you set up your team, your company for being successful as a wholesaler. And then if you're looking for something more advanced, going into rentals, apartment complexes, we can also help with that. So go to azdfc.com. Also, we're going to be having a free webinar coming up here May 10th. We at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. That's 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We don't have the web page up for that yet. That's going to be coming here within a matter of about a week. Hopefully, we have it up by the end of the week. So I'll be sharing that link with you all as well. And we will be doing a 2 day workshop. And that 2 day workshop is like under $100. And we dig into, the building blocks of, how to get started, what marketing you should be doing, how to gauge if your marketing is successful, things of that nature. We'll talk about, your contracts, your assignment agreements, your purchase contract, memorandum of agreement, how to negotiate, how to calculate the after repair value. So much, how to calculate, your rehab costs. We go into so much in that 2 day workshop. Well, actually, it's a day and a half, but we'll be having all of that information coming out here soon for you. And that's going to be on May 20th, the 2 day workshop. And if you're in Phoenix or in the Phoenix metro area, we'd love to see you in person. We got a seat for you at the ASREA office. That's the Arizona Real Estate Investors Association. And if you're not here local to the Valley, we also going to be streaming it. So you'll be able to sit right in with us, watch here. We'll go over everything. It will be actually as if you were in the class. So meet us, join us. That information will be coming out very, very soon. But if you want more information, just go to azdfc.com, join the wait list, and that way you can receive the emails regarding that content. Okay. Love you. Thank you so much for being loyal listeners. Once again, feel free to meet me over on our YouTube channel. That's MRCS Maloney, MRCSMALONEY at youtube.com. Man, I just been freelancing, just been walking and talking and sharing some of my thoughts as far as real estate, as far as contracts, what you need to do to get started. So if you're looking for a place to get some free information, feel free to meet us over our YouTube channel, MRCS Maloney. And then don't forget, always find us on social, MRCS Maloney, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. I'm out there. So again, appreciate it. You guys know what to do. Always, always enjoy the journey. Thank you for listening to today's show. I picked up some great actionable items, and I'm sure you did as well. If so, let me know. You can always reach me via social media at facebook.com/MRCSMaloney, Twitter at MRCSMaloney, and of course, IG at MRCSMaloney. You can also always reach me via email at mmaloney@equityri.com. Make sure you reach out to our guests as well. You can always find their contact information in the show notes below. If you have not subscribed already, what are you waiting for? Join the family. And while you're at it, leave us a 5-star review. This is how we tell if we're providing you with what you need for your journey. If there's someone you would like for me to interview, or if there's a subject matter you would like for me to cover, please let me know. Finally, if you're looking for additional information about real estate investing, go to equityrealestateblog.com. Also, youtube.com/Marcus Maloney. Until next time, family, always enjoy the journey.